Today we're going to make a whole wheat banana bread. All right, our list of ingredients is a half a cup of butter, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 cups of whole wheat flour, and 5 to 6 ripe bananas. So we're going to start with that butter in the bowl, and to that we are going to add the brown sugar, and we're going to cream that to get a nice smooth consistency. Remember that when you start with any sort of baking, you want all of your ingredients to be at room temperature. So you need your butter kind of softened. Don't put it in the microwave. Let it set out for half an hour to an hour on the countertop, and that should bring it to the correct temperature. Make sure that your eggs are sitting out and they become room temperature as well. So it's only going to take a few seconds to cream the sugar and the butter together. And as you can see, we're almost there. Now we're going to add our 2 eggs one at a time, just letting them mix in so that everything kind of melds together. Now you can see it's at the right consistency. The sugar has kind of melted. The eggs gave it that little bit of extra liquid that it needed. And at this point, we are going to be adding the vanilla. At this point, we're just stirring in the vanilla, getting it incorporated, scraping down the bowl to make sure that we got anything at the bottom, and it's time to add those bananas. Now, there are a lot of bananas in this recipe, but I was able to find them at my grocery store, especially if you go early in the morning. They have them for sale, all the bananas that were super ripe. So I think I paid 50 cents for all of those bananas. You saw that I mashed it up a little bit with the mixer before I actually started mixing. Make sure that you continually scrape down your bowl. And as an option, I personally like the taste of cinnamon, so I've added cinnamon. There goes my salt. And now the baking soda goes in, and you are going to just mix this very well. It's time to add that whole wheat flour. Now, something to keep in mind, that when you are baking with whole wheat flour, it is going to have a grainier texture because the bran, the outside of the wheat, has been included. So it's one thing that I notice when I'm eating whole wheat items, that it does have a slightly different texture that some of you might not find real appealing. Now we're going to be adding our flour in small doses here. So I did about a third, and a third. And make sure that you are not overworking your batter. On quick breads like a banana bread is, it can make the banana bread a little bit tough. Banana bread is extremely dense as it is, but you want to get to the point where it's just incorporated. You don't want to keep mixing it up. So it's time to put it in a pre-greased loaf pan. I used a 9x5 loaf pan, but any size loaf pan will do. I used the spray that has grease and flour mixed in it, made for baking. I find that that works best for me, but you go ahead and use what's going to work best for you. And once we get it all in that pan, we just need to make sure things are settled. So we're going to give it a little bit of a shake and tap it on the counter. This is going to be a very dense bread because of all of those bananas, so we don't expect much of a rise. At this point, I am testing it after it was in the oven for about 60 minutes at 350. My toothpick came out clean. I let it set out for about 15 minutes before I popped it out of the pan and put it out to cool completely. I'm in no way, shape, or form a professional cook. I'm just an at-home cook that is trying to incorporate grains into my baking. Thank you for joining me here at White Shadow Fare, A Year of Grain.